he drinks a kombucha, and everybody on the playlist closes the article and goes, oh, so he's one of those guys.
Well, this is Bill Hader sponsoring
kombucha is what it is. Hader loves the booch. Man, Hader loves the booch. There's nothing better than the booch when you're on a junket, you know.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to episode 7 of The Fourth Wall. I am your host, Griffin Schiller, and this is the show where we break down the fourth wall of the film industry as we get an inside look through our conversations with industry professionals ranging from directors, actors, you name it. This show is, of course, part of the Playlist Podcast Network, where you can find our weekly film discourse show discussing the latest releases, along with other shows such as Indie Beat, Be Real, and a whole lot more. Whatever your fix is, we got you covered over there. Today, I have a real treat for all of you. Due to the release of It Chapter 2, I was able to speak with probably one of the most exciting talents to watch in the industry right now, and that is Bill Hader. Most of you were probably introduced to Bill through his incredible work on Saturday Night Live, for which he received 4 Emmy nominations. But after SNL, Bill has really started to get those creative juices flowing, especially with his HBO dark comedy series, Barry, for which Hader himself earned an Emmy Award for Outstanding Lead Actor in a Comedy Series and consecutive nominations for Outstanding Comedy Series, Outstanding Directing for a Comedy Series, and Outstanding Writing for a Comedy Series for its first 2 seasons. And while we're on the topic of Barry, this is the perfect time to remind you all to go watch that show. It's one of the most incredible things on television right now. There's seriously nothing else like it. I guarantee you'll love it. It's only 30 minutes per episode, so it's a real easy watch, and you'll probably blow through the first 2 seasons over the course of a day or 2. But outside of television, Hader has had supporting roles in Superbad, Tropic Thunder, Forgetting Sarah Marshall, Adventureland, Paul, Men in Black 3, Inside Out, Angry Birds, Ralph Breaks the Internet, and has had leading roles in Trainwreck and The Skeleton Twins. His latest work in It Chapter 2 is nothing short of outstanding and is by far the biggest standout of that movie. During our conversation, we discuss It Chapter 2 in both spoilers and non-spoilers, so if you have not seen the film, go see it and then come back and listen to this conversation as we talk about a very pivotal plot point. We also talk about his work on Barry and whether or not he has plans to completely ditch acting and focus on filmmaking. This one was a lot of fun, and so I hope you all enjoy it as well. But without further ado, here is my conversation with Bill Hader. So we were talking to Andy yesterday, actually, and he brought up the fact that each of the cast members, weirdly enough, got injured during the filming of this. And then I think he mentioned, like, you saying that you pulled your groin or something like that.
Yeah, everybody got injured in some way. Jessica, I want to say had some sort of a sinus thing from being underwater. Like, she got like a crazy infection from being underwater. James I think is well documented. He did something to his legs. Man, I don't know if Jay Ryan got hurt. He's a pretty sturdy guy. But yeah, I pulled my groin muscle. Just immediately running. I just had to run like 40 yards. And within 10, I pulled my groin muscle and just sat down. Yeah. I was like, well, I just pulled my groin muscle. We're done.
What scene was that in?
It's when the clown spider starts chasing us around.
Oh, okay.
So the minute it started chasing us, we were all like, and we start running, and I just was like, fuck. So most of that, if you see, they don't cut to us running up to the cave and everything, because I went to the hospital. It was towards the end of the shoot. I think that might have been why it was happening, because we were doing so much physical stuff. And I was trying to get into shape for Barry, so I was going to like the gym in the morning and stuff. And then I think my legs are just old and just like couldn't handle it.
Something that I think is interesting is that while obviously very different genres, both comedy and horror rely on the circumvention of expectations, the whole give and take sort of thing. So I'm curious for you as an actor, how much of that circumvention is your responsibility, or does more of it boil down to the whole writing and directing of it?
Yeah, honestly, it writing and directing, but also a lot of and editing. It's kind of an editor's issue. We deal with that on Barry a lot of the times of like, well, what's the thing that works and doesn't and things like that. But and you're kind of putting things in and taking things out. But yeah, as far as my performance, it's you just kind of take it scene by scene and what makes sense and what the director wants from you and try to do your best job.
And I guess the other thing is like kind of like with comedy, there's different kinds of horror.
Yeah.
There's more atmospheric. There's obviously jump scares, and so I guess when you're building towards a punchline or a scare, how do you approach that in your head?
You don't have a lot of control over that stuff. It's weird. I mean, you can kind of get a sense of what it's going to be like, but you don't know really. Oh, is that it? Wow, look at this guy's kombucha.
Oh my God.
For all you people at home, I'm about to have a kombucha. in a glass.
This is perfect. This is the classy way to do it.
Yeah, that's the way they do it wherever kombucha's from. It's from the island of Kombucha, right?
Yeah, of course.
Isn't that what it's from? He drinks a kombucha, and everybody on the playlist closes the article and goes, oh, so... He's one of those guys.
Well, this is Bill Hader sponsoring.
Yeah, kombucha is what it is. Hader loves the booch. Man, Hader loves the booch. There's nothing better than the booch when you're on a junket, Drinking the booch, talking about SNL or not SNL. I don't even know what the fuck I am. I'm usually talking about it. I think it's 2009 right now. Like, let's talk about DVD commentaries, things that don't exist anymore. But yeah, you never know. Back to that initial question, you never really know what whose responsibility, or whatever it is.
Yeah, absolutely. Something else that I really loved about this film was that, you have all of these supernatural horrors going on with Pennywise, but then there's also the real-life psychological distress many of the characters go through, especially Ritchie this time around, who goes through quite the emotional journey, and I absolutely loved what you guys did with the character. So when you're reading this and you're discovering what's going on with him and how the character is being altered, what was your reaction, and did this help you buy into Andy's vision even more?
Yeah, it helped a bit. Andy and I sat down and talked about it when I first got to Toronto after I had the part, and we talked about Ritchie's sexuality and all these things and how to play that. And I just thought, just from a character standpoint, it was just really interesting. And I felt like everybody had something, and then he didn't. He was just kind of like the wise ass, and that was it. And so I said, well, and we talked about the scene of what if it was him and Jason, the writer, and it was like, well, what if there's this scene in an arcade with this kid and he's playing, with this kid or whatever, and maybe that could, some sort of a flashback to a thing that he remembers as being something that was embarrassing, or something that first time he tried to, reach out in a way and how it was perceived. And so I really like that aspect of it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, was there like a piece of it that you were able to relate to personally? Not necessarily the sexuality, but I guess the feelings in general.
Yeah, definitely the feeling of, I think there's a part of you that always feels like, at least part of me, I'm making a generalization, but like for me personally, you're funny and all these things, but you also have a lot of deep feelings that you kind of mask with humor, and you also I just remember being in high school and being kind of nice and funny and stuff, but it was actually very lonely. I felt, you know what I mean? You just kind of hung in your room and watched a lot of movies and read and listened to music, but did a lot of stuff alone. But that was never anything I really thought about until I was like in my late 30s, 40s, you know what I mean? And you kind of look back on something and go, oh yeah, you know what? I wasn't really, you know what I mean? It's like you kind of, and you go, oh, I put on this, you know, you were having fun and hanging out and stuff. But when you think back of those times, you think of you don't realize in the moment like how lonely you were.
Yeah. I mean, that's something that, well, really in both films you really get a sense of, and it's what makes the characters so relatable.
Yeah, and not so much that, you know, him being gay and dairy, I think that would make him feel lonely and having a deep secret. So I think that is something I can, at least on some semblance, not having a secret that big weighing on you, but something that I related to on some level of just
for sure. Well, I mean, and something else that I really enjoyed about Chapter 2 was how perfectly the adult versions of The Losers matched the child versions, and not only in terms of casting, but you know, like the mannerisms and the personality as well. And so I'm curious, did you and Finn ever hang out at all, or do any sort of bonding in order to get a better sense of his mannerisms and personality?
No, not really. I mean, I saw the first movie when it came out, and then I watched it on the plane on the way to Toronto, and that was about it. And then I didn't really meet Finn until we didn't actually hang out until we had a day where we had to shoot at the same location, and and we kind of just chilled that day and just really shot the shit and talked about music and movies and stuff. And never once was I like, oh, what's he doing? How's he, you know? But I think what helped me in watching it again was just his attitude. And to be honest, less than his character, but just the tone of the whole movie. You know, this is the kind of tone we're going for. Okay, it could be funny, but there's also going to be these more dramatic things, you know? So it was just leaving room for that.
Yeah, that's really interesting, because I would imagine, I guess that was really the case with the entire cast as well.
Yeah. Sometimes Andy would come up, I think, to people and say, you know, they would do this or do that, but he didn't really do that much with me, except try to put a big fake nose on me, which I was like, I'm not going to wear this. That was his version of, yeah, you want to put a big nose on me? I was like, no,
yeah,
I'm not going to wear a nose. That's nuts. And also brown contacts, and I said no to that too.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I guess that would have been a little weird.
Yeah, I was like, if you can make a giant clown spider, can't you make my eyes brown?
Yeah, I feel like they're already twisting the rules. I mean, eye color is just, you know, it's the least of their concerns. Something that's been really fun to watch, I guess, is sort of your post SNL career. You've taken on more diverse roles, and you really settled into a filmmaking mindset. And I guess in a way, it's kind of exercised more of a darker side, or at least a more serious side of your creativity. And I'm curious, is this you wanting to push the limits of your creativity, or is it a little bit of a personal catharsis?
I think it's just what I'm interested in, really. I mean, I've always been that way, you know. It's like the kind of movies and things I liked, or the you know, were, you know, in that world, you know. And you know, I love sketch comedy and I like comedy, but if I had to sit down and watch a movie, most likely I'd be, you know, watching something on Criterion Channel or an old movie or something like that. And then I've always been really affected. The movies in my life that I go back to are usually, you know, movies like Taxi Driver or you know, Last Detail, or, you know, these sorts of things. Badlands, and then Kurosawa I absolutely love. And, you know, it's those, that kind of world. I just watched The Fireman's Ball and Loves of a Blonde like 2 nights ago. I just decided to watch both those, and I was like, man, these movies are great. And so that's kind of where my head's at usually, as opposed to the like whatever's kind of big at the moment.
Yeah, well, and I guess that's the thing that's really interesting about you is that you originally wanted to be a filmmaker, and you just kind of found your way into SNL.
Yeah, no, I just got crazy lucky. Yeah, I just got insanely lucky and got cast on that show, and it changed my life. But what I'm doing on Barry is kind of what I wanted to do when I moved out here 20 years ago.
Well, and that's kind of where I wanted to go with this is that, with future endeavors and with doing stuff with Barry, do you think we'll ever see a time where you step away from acting and focus solely on writing and directing?
I don't know. I don't have I would love to direct something that I'm not in. I mean, that is definitely a thing I would like to do, just to have that experience and see how I feel afterwards. The acting and directing thing is a little hard, but yeah, it'd be nice to see, and then you never know. You might do one like that, and then you might do another, and so it always changes. But just the fact to have the ability to try to get something even just made is phenomenal. You know what I mean? I mean, just the fact that we were able to get Barry, on your television is nuts. Is insane to us, or documentary now or any of the other ones. It's just kind of like, how do we, so that a very fortunate position to be able to do that. And so because I feel like I'm in a fortunate position, I want to make sure the thing's good and not like a thing you've seen a lot. So it's just that seems to be usually the pressure in my head is when we're writing something and we're going, yeah, but this is feeling like this or feeling like that, and so there's some writers in the writers' room on Barry that are that's almost their job is to say like, hey, I feel like I've seen this before,
Yeah. Well, just kind of wrapping up here, I guess, what can we expect from Barry season 3 kind of going forward?
I have no idea. Me and Liz Sarnoff, one of the writers, are just gonna go into an office in 2 weeks and I'm gonna stare at a whiteboard and go, well, what if this happens? Last season it was me and Alec Berg, and we were just staring at a whiteboard, and it was, we wrote like Fuchs's tooth.
Yeah.
And I wrote Sally's ex-husband, and then I had like Rite Aid fight, some sort of fight in a Rite Aid. I don't know what that is.
Yeah. I mean, that episode really blew my mind. I mean, I hope we get to see more of those kinds of just one-off crazy episodes.
Yeah.
And then the last little bit I have for you is that I hear you're working on a feature now.
Yeah, writing a feature, and I was writing it by myself. And then last week, Duffy Boudreaux's my oldest friend, who's a writer on Barry, I had him come over and read some of it, and he gave me some really helpful notes. And I said, well, do you want to come in and help me write this? Because I'm just too in it. I just can't see outside of it. I was getting a little bit lost in the idea and everything. And so I'm very happy that we're going to, as of right now, writing it together. So that's good.
Well, that's really exciting. I'm really looking forward to that, and I'm looking forward to whatever the hell you have in store for us for Barry season 3.
Oh, thanks, man. Me too. I have no idea.
Yeah, well, I mean, it never disappoints. I mean, it's especially if we get more just insane singular episodes like with episode 5.
Yeah, we'll see if it presents itself. That's the way you do it, because you don't want to like force it. You know what I mean? And then go like, we're doing this because everyone's expecting this of a,
Right.
But
right.
you want to make sure it's a thing that feels different, but is still moving the story forward.
Awesome. Well, yeah, thanks, Bill. Really appreciate your time.
Man.
Well, there you have it. That was my conversation with Bill Hader. I legitimately cannot wait to see what this man has in store for us in future projects. He is just such a creative genius, and he's doing things that no one else is. And my God, is he absolutely hilarious. It Chapter 2 is now playing in theaters, and this is another quick reminder to head on over to HBO and check out Bill's show, Barry. But the most important thing is I want to hear from you all. I want to know what your favorite Bill Hader SNL sketch is down in the comments section of wherever you're listening to this episode. Be sure, as always, to subscribe to the Playlist Podcast Network for more episodes of The Fourth Wall, along with the rest of our diverse film-centric catalog. Whatever your fix is, we've got you covered. And if you're feeling so inclined and you really want to go the extra mile and be nice, we'd love it if you drop us a rating and a review, as it greatly helps out the show, helps us get noticed, and it lets me know what you all are loving and what you think we can improve upon. Our It Chapter 2 coverage isn't over, folks, as next week I dive into a spoiler-heavy conversation with the director of the film, Andy Muschietti. That one was another really solid episode. And if you are a fan of It and the filmmaking behind these projects, you're definitely going to want to stay tuned for that. He gives us some great insight into the project. But until then, if you like me and you like what I have to say, you can give me a follow on Twitter at Griff Schiller. All right, that's going to do it for this week's episode, and I'll catch you next time. Take care.